This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center on this Saturday evening with a severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of Camden and Glynn counties until 8 o'clock. We're watching a storm here, really a complex of storminess that is pretty nasty. Weather Service talking about, though, in particular, a severe thunderstorm located near Waverly, or 8 miles northeast of Woodbine, moving east at about 40 miles an hour. I know they're talking in here maybe even about some weak rotation as well as we're getting closer to the coast. There's a coastal sea breeze that is encountering, so that can be kind of problematic sometimes. We can get a quick spin up tornado sometimes in these situations. Right now, looking at some of our different modes on velocity, we're not seeing a lot of rotation, but there is wind enhancement here, and we have to just watch out maybe for some smaller to maybe even quarter size hail. So I just want to be kind of giving you guys that latest information as we go ahead and go to the larger viewpoint here. This axis moving east at about 40 miles an hour or so. So the leading edge should be off the coast here in about 15 or 20 minutes. And then we still have a little bit more of this to get through, though, as we look at rotation tracker right now. Maybe not quite as impressive here as it was trying to show a moment ago, but we'll continue to monitor the situation. There's quite a bit of lightning. I know even after we went off, we got another warning in play before it dropped off, and then this one came aboard here, and we were just seeing copious amounts of lightning off toward areas around Winnetka, for instance. So a pretty stormy evening, even if we don't have severe weather going on. We have that severe weather potential, 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail, and then there's a tornado possible tag on here. That's the level just below issue, and a tornado warning to kind of give you the heads up that something could quickly spin up here with little or no advanced warning. But we are kind of giving you that warning with that description there. So again, going to go ahead and zoom back out a little bit. You can see here, that's the only warning we have right now. It's a pretty highly populated area there. That's another reason to jump on for it. But you can see toward Charleston County, you have some lighting out there, and then it's more scattered accent here as we get out toward the Big Bend, some storminess around Tallahassee, and you can see toward the Gulf of Mexico here, some storms in play as well south of the Big Bend. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on here as we look down here in this vicinity. We're going to continue to keep our eyes on the situation down there toward that area. But again, well, let's go ahead and zoom back on up right now. You can kind of see here, this is where the most favorable accent is for the storminess. You see the energy values, and then we'll kind of compare and contrast things a little bit. You don't see those energy values as high out toward the Gulf of Mexico, though. Some of this accent still could kind of try to take advantage of some of these higher numbers here, but the more favorable severe conditions, as we've seen from storm predictions, the center outlook here, more toward that state line in that yellowish area, and just outside of that right now with this severe thunderstorm warning, where we just got a look here at the latest hail indicator, and that's up to about 0.8 of an inch in diameter, potentially close toward I-75 there. So we'll go ahead and zoom in real tight, take off some things, and you can see that's Brunswick there to the north and east, Waverly there just toward the west. And excuse me, we're going to continue to watch here very carefully how this kind of evolves, just to make sure we don't have any type of damaging weather. And if there is, of course, at least we're giving you that heads up about it here on cloud weather. So again, going to continue to watch things very carefully. I know we want to go ahead and just check between some of our different modes here. This area hadn't got too much over the last 12 hours, like the areas off toward the west where things had kind of stalled on out with the stuff kind of coming on through here. Again, more favorable conditions here. There's temperatures warmer, obviously, toward the east, and that lends itself for more nastier weather to try to take place here. Again, a lot of lightning. That can cause damage in and of itself, of course. So that's something to kind of be aware of as we're looking out here toward coastal Georgia right now. Again, severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of Camden and Glynn. This warning polygon does include Brunswick, St. Simons Island, Woodbine, Dock Junction, Country Club Estates, Waverly, Sea Island, Jekyll Island, Boys Estates, and Dover Bluff. So just got to remain alert for a quick spin up tornado, large hail and damaging winds, and continuous cloudy ground lightning. Those are threats here as well. Excuse me, I suggest move indoors immediately. Lightning is one of nature's #1 killers here. So remember, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. And torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to some flash flooding, so do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways here. So we got to be kind of monitoring that potential as we're looking off toward coastal Georgia here. As we look at some of the velocity values, they're not necessarily well defined here in terms of any particular area. There is one just east of I-95, though, that could be kind of worth watching here. A little bit of something right in there, and then I kind of co-locate that over to the radar, and we do have actually a little bit of rotation maybe in that area. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Nothing extreme, but maybe a little bit of something there. We'll continue to watch it for you, of course, but nothing really standing out, but definitely could have some small hail or some winds to about severe limits in here in toward Camden and Glynn counties. We'll continue to watch to see if anything spins up in terms of a tornado, but that threat is pretty low, relatively low. As we go ahead and show you here our other viewpoint right now, we'll kind of give you guys an idea. Again, there's the outlook. The tornado threat's only at 2% here, right on the edge of that axis, and the hail threat and the wind threat, that's what we were kind of watching more for, and a pretty good outlook here where we had some of that worst potential setting on up in terms of warnings within that yellow area. Granted, the threat isn't completely over yet, as we're now getting reports in. So let me go ahead and zoom back in. There's now reports here that a woman called in reporting a funnel cloud 10 to 20 miles north of her location in Kingsland. She was unsurfaced, reaching the ground, and no debris or damage seen at this time. So there's the icon popping on up. That's from 24 past the hour. So something that's kind of interesting to see here in the Weather Center this afternoon now, moving into the evening as things do get darker, making it harder to see out there. Definitely kind of interesting here, the environment that we're in, that something might have developed to that effect there with a funnel cloud. So we're just going to continue to watch the situation very carefully. We're going to continue to track things. Let me go ahead and zoom back on out here. Again, that's the only real area of concern right now. As we zoom on out, you don't see any other warnings. I mean, we have storms up toward the northeast, but we don't have any warnings in play up there. Even though there's a tornado threat, it seems things have held pretty good there in terms of any type of severe threat in the tornadic fast. We have had thunderstorm warnings though up there in toward that vicinity. But again, we're going to go ahead and look back down toward our area. We had a tornado warning earlier west of Waycross we were on for. No tornado warning yet for this particular area, but things kind of coming together here. Did have a funnel cloud report a little while ago, but that's an interesting report. Seeing it maybe 10 to 20 miles north, but we'll just kind of continue to watch here. You never know. Sometimes you might be able to see something depending on exactly where you're at there in towards southeastern Georgia. So we'll go ahead and kind of look here. We'll kind of look to see if there's any debris. Can't really see anything at this moment, though I do see maybe a hail enhancement right along I-95 right now as we get toward Cooper Road there. It's been moving here close to Brunswick over the next few minutes. Probably here toward maybe Reynolds Street, somewhere in that vicinity, US 25. Kind of trying to get an idea of the track on this here. I just have to continue to kind of monitor things here, maybe closer to Dock Junction even, as to see if it's kind of riding the road. It's actually kind of going a little east, so maybe kind of splitting difference there even, but trying to give you guys the idea. It's not the easiest thing to do sometimes when you're tracking this live, but because things do have different motions here where the worst of the weather is. But again, we're going to continue to watch here the situation. You do see a boundary now coming from this. This will kind of cool things down probably here to some extent, the outflow boundary, but these winds still showing up on radar closer to 50 miles an hour there as we get toward, it looks like they get down here a little tighter, Ella Park Church Road in there, maybe some of these stronger winds in that vicinity, maybe a little bit of rotation here closer toward some of these other roads here, like as we kind of move the mouse over, it looks like close to US Highway 17, so we'll just have to continue to watch as we get here. With the funnel cloud report, you never know, but not enough to prompt a tornado warning at this point in terms of rotation, but we'll continue to watch this scenario very carefully before it gets off the coast. I know we do have this thunderstorm warning going here for about another 20 minutes, but while we're on the air, I do want to emphasize this again. We talked about it earlier, put together some graphics for you guys, but let's go ahead and talk about this once again here. I think it's worth noting again, if you guys didn't hear me earlier, we do have a threat here of pretty robust severe weather potential early next week out toward the west here. A big national story could be developing here. We're seeing this threat on Monday. All types of severe weather possible. Waco, Lufkin, Tyler, College Station in there. Really need people to be watching. Some strong tornadoes possible. Even on Tuesday, I think the threat could even be a little bit worse here toward Jackson, Mississippi. Central Mississippi really has to watch out on Tuesday. Hopefully things change in the model guidance to a lesser threat, but right now it looks very substantial here, and they just got to stay tuned for the latest and be monitoring things. Now, as it translates up toward the east, the threat is lower for Wednesday, but it does include parts of our area, so we'll continue to watch that. So another system on the way here. Really concerned toward some of those areas out toward the west. We'll keep you advised of that, but that toward the local situation that's ongoing right now. That's what we're on, is for this warning here toward parts of Camden and Glynn counties. So again, you see a lot of purple showing up. That's actually going to be expanded here a little bit in the recent scans. So some nasty weather moving into Brunswick. Looking for anything on correlation coefficient. Could have some small hail in there. Maybe even a little rotation here as well. Right at the coast sometimes you can get some issues. So that's a little rotation, I think, because that matched up pretty good with our little knots on this. So let's go ahead and kind of zoom on in real tight. I know we're not seeing a lot, but this is not too far away from, it looks like State Road 50 in here. So we have a little bit of spin south of US Highway 17. That matches up perfectly with the knots here and a little bit of rotation, not a lot, but right at the coast, maybe a water spout develops and then kind of comes across here as a brief tornado closer toward areas there right before you get into the Atlantic. So just got to continue to watch here. No tornado warning. This is a thunderstorm warning right now, but we have to continue to monitor the situation here for sure, as things can definitely be nasty here, can definitely pose a threat. So we just want to make sure you guys are staying tuned for the very latest information here as we're watching parts of southeastern Georgia. Severe thunderstorm warning till 8 o'clock. Again, maybe a final cloud report a little while ago, but at least some areas of weak rotation we're watching here, and that wind potential still persists here around Brunswick and Glynn County. So we got to continue to watch. A 1 hour rainfall, not going to be indicative of what's coming down right now. It's going to really add on up here as this comes on down, and again, maybe a little bit of hail mixing in as well. That's what one of the criteria is in the warning that is in play. Let me go ahead and switch back over to radar. The broader view of it, that is. We have another vantage point we can go to. Let me go ahead and show you guys this now. You're able to see what we're talking about toward Brunswick here. You can see right along I-95, we're really getting the nasty conditions to take place, and you can see here on hail tracker, right, moving toward Brunswick here, that highest hail potential. This right now is showing about 0.6 of an inch in diameter, so we'll see exactly what's reaching the surface here, but I definitely got to continue to monitor the situation there in Glen Camden, northern Camden, as the warning goes for another 18 minutes or so. Some of the worst is coming on right about now. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues to 8 o'clock. We'll go back on over to correlation coefficient to see if there's anything on my end. I'm not seeing that. I'll punch up our other mode to show you guys that live view. There's a lot of lightning around there. Got to be careful. Even if there's not severe weather occurring, definitely dangerous lightning here in the picture. So we have to just be cognizant. And there's still some areas of storms to the west. And I know it's been quiet around Stark. You're not seeing the best view on this, but let's go to the wide view where we have all the radars taken into account here, and you'll be able to see stuff in the Gulf still, and that's going to be hitting that energy. I mean, the threat overall is low, it's marginal to not even that for some of our area, but we'll have to watch it, see if we get some warnings here later tonight. It's not a huge threat by any stretch of the imagination, but not completely zero, so if there's something that happens, we'll let you know. But again, getting back in here toward this area, toward coastal Georgia right now, and a Sea Island will be getting some of this here over the next few minutes as well, so that's something to watch there as we get back on over to other vantage point. Right now, though, right into Brunswick, Union Street, Oak Street, over toward US 25, Hardy Avenue. Again, some very heavy rain, probably some hail mixing in with this. I would suspect Martin Luther King Boulevard there, so gotta continue to watch Emmanuel Avenue, Dudley Street there, Hill Street, just kind of giving you guys the idea of what's going on in this area. You can see in Glynn County, Stonewall Street. Again, hail indicators went up right over Brunswick now. So, again, it's a very thunderstorm warning here in play. I'll put our mouse on the screen. Just again, this is what we're talking about. All right in there, folks. Let me move it over. And you can see right in there. That's where we're talking. The worst of this is right now. So I'll go ahead and take that back off. But just wanted to let you guys know what we're talking about there. Make sure you guys kind of get a better understanding of where this worst threat is here in Glynn County. So again, heavy rain is being produced. The rainfall rate's very high, and that's some small to maybe inch-sized hail occurring right around Brunswick right now, one of our higher populated areas there in Glynn County. So we'll look back over a rotation, check some different things here, going between some of our different modes. You can see how we had more rain earlier. We had a lot of rain off toward the west here. It may not all show up because the radar we're on right now, but this other mode, I have some radar because that's the best viewpoint. We're getting this back up, by the way. The maintenance there completed, it looks like, but you can see here out toward Pearson there, 4 inches of rain there in toward that area, for instance, according to that, since it's been back up in terms of storm total estimate data. So gotta keep on watching that as we get back in though toward Brunswick right now. See little areas there of some wind enhancement. We're gonna keep on watching things here for sure in terms of the weather situation at large. What I do think I'm gonna do right now though is we're gonna gather more information here. I'm gonna check here some of our different sources to see if anything new's coming in. You can see Sea Island starting to get into some of this now. Some of the worst of it's going to be off the coast here pretty soon, but I want to keep the stream going here until this warning is officially let go by the National Weather Service in Jacksonville. Still have some other action that's pretty robust. You're hearing that thunder. That means you're close enough to be struck by lightning here, even at sunset. You might be trying to enjoy things even close by, and unfortunately, that lightning can strike away and from the apparent thunderstorm action. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So we'll keep on watching, keep on track. I'll be back here in about 5 minutes from the Weather Center. Stay safe, everybody.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at 7:51 on this Saturday. So thunderstorm warning continues for another 9 minutes or so for parts of Camden and Glynn counties. It seems the worst action would be toward Glynn County here, though. Camden County still has some storminess there as well that could be pretty gusty in nature, so you just never know exactly. But it seems like the worst of the storminess here in terms of our reflectivity values, the heaviest rain and probably that higher hail potential and wind potential is more toward Glynn County, and probably the worst is really moving towards Sea Island here at this point. It's kind of a cluster, so it's hard to pick out where the worst may be, but it seems that the worst probably would be closer towards Sea Island right now, around St. James Avenue on our last radar scan. So, going to continue to watch this as it tries to get off the coast here in the next several minutes. That'll be good news. Hopefully, we don't get more severe weather to redevelop, but it's definitely a possibility here, as we've talked about. It's not something we can roll out based on the overall threat and the overall risk area that we're dealing with. Here's that risk. You do see it, Clifton, Bradford, Alachua, and then getting into toward Gilchrist counties, for instance. We'll be watching the coastal area there towards Cedar Key, and especially the north of that, though, where the marginal risk is in play. I'll be looking toward areas there like Cross City, for instance, out in that vicinity here, maybe for some isolated severe weather later on. The threat isn't that big, but it's not zero, as we kind of indicate here in the weather center. You still see that hail indicator here on our screen, but it's right at the coast right now. This is getting very close to moving off the coast, but it's still right around Sea Island. So that can be problematic, of course, as we look here. Hail maybe have gone over Brunswick over the last little bit. It might have went over Brunswick. So it'll be interesting to see what type of reports we get in as we look at the hail path here over the last hour or so. The yellow areas where the hail may have been bigger in size, and we're starting to see that uptick once again here as we get closer to St. Simon's Island and Sea Island here in Glynn County. So just a few more minutes till it gets off the coast, but it's not quite there yet. So we still got to exercise caution. Still that lightning threat. Even if you don't have severe weather, you can have that threat of dangerous lightning, obviously. So again, around Sea Island right now, getting some pretty nasty weather there. So we'll continue to watch the situation here. You can see Brunswick, some heavier rain, maybe a little hail, but again, the heavier concentration of hail maybe closer towards Sea Island Road right now, toward 4th Street there. You kind of get the idea as this is headed off the coast, and we'll await official confirmation here of the warning being expired here as we get closer toward 8 o'clock. So you kind of continue to see the pattern here as we watch it. We'll continue to give you guys the very latest information, the latest updates here in the Weather Center, but we're going to go and take a break in the coverage for another 2.5 minutes as we gather more information.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here in the Weather Center at 7:56, still seeing some nasty weather there around Sea Island. Severe thunderstorm warning continuing for another few minutes here, and hopefully this warning won't need to be extended. It doesn't look like it at this point. It looks like it'll be off the coast here right around 8 o'clock. As we're watching the core of this here, I'll kind of go ahead and put my mouse back on the screen. So let me go ahead and we'll do that now at this juncture of the coverage, and you'll be able to kind of see what I'm talking about right in here. This is where the worst of the storminess is right now. Maybe some hail causing some issues there in parts of Glynn County right now, and maybe even seeing some of that within our correlation coefficient. So that's kind of interesting there. As we look at velocity, things not all that impressive in here. Maybe having some type of spin up earlier, but that was the storm relative velocity. Base velocity actually started to intensify right at the coast here with this right around Sea Island here. So it's kind of interesting, but that could just be the inflow there kind of sewing up as well. So maybe some type of water spout potential could evolve as this moves further along in the Atlantic Ocean area at this point, the coastal waters. But again, this warning going for another 3 minutes or so. Severe thunderstorm warning here in play. We're continuing to watch the grand scheme of things. Let me go ahead and take the mouse back off again. Zoom back on out. You can see some more storms here off toward the west. Now, as we look at things here, and I'll look at my other map as well, I want to see the instability values here. We have seen a weakening of those for many of our spots. So what this means here is the action for Georgia here, that severe threat will be going down. I mean, it's a little higher up there already, but it'll be going down. While you see in Florida, though, it's still a little warmer toward the Swanee River Valley. So not completely out of the question. We get 1 or 2 rogue warnings. Not a huge threat, though, whatsoever, but could have an impact on your Saturday night. And always when there's thunder around, when there's that lightning potential, you got to take that seriously as well. When thunder roars, you want to go indoors in these type of situations, obviously. But we still have surface-based CAPE there, about 1,500 joules per kilogram. I even see 1 over 1,700 as I sample some of this data here. So always helpful to kind of get an idea of the environment, because that's what helps get these storms going or keeps these storms going here. As they just had a gust there just now at St. Simon's Island at 52 miles an hour. So this storm definitely having some issues along with it here as we get in really tight. And our other radar here kind of showing this here as well. We'll kind of zoom on in actually to the other radar, because there's St. Simon's and some of this just going across there. You see our hail indicator closer to 2 inches. On one of our other modes here, it kind of sometimes goes a little higher than what it actually is on this mode compared to other mode that kind of has a better handle on analyzing the hail sizes. But getting that report just in, I'll see if it's come across here in this system or not. It may or may not have, but go ahead and pop the numbers up, and there it is, 51, 52. Sometimes this estimates it a little weird from not, but you get the idea here. You see that just in the last few moments there. That's from 7:53, so I can back this up actually, and it's exactly what you'd expect it from. It's that area purple, that storminess there, causing that gust to occur in that vicinity. So that has winds there verified over 50 miles an hour now. And as it moves off the coast, that'll be good news. Obviously, it's going to be off here in the next minute or two, but maybe causing some issues. I'll go ahead and look at some of the power outage information while we wait, just to make sure they're not going to do any type of short extension with this. It's right at the coast here. Granted, it does have some issues. That's technically below severe limit, 52 miles an hour, but that's still pretty interesting gust to get, because sometimes you can have winds a little bit higher in spots where you don't actually have anemometers to measure the wind. That can cause issues, obviously. And they're looking towards some of our areas. Don't have too many outages in Florida. For our area, Jefferson County, there's 205 customers in the dark here. And then I look at other areas of the state. There's actually some outages in Polk County, but that doesn't look to be necessarily weather related. And in Georgia, only 509 customers, but this is a few minutes old. And we do have a few in our area. So let me go ahead and punch this one up, because it could be related to some of the storminess we've been tracking here. You see McIntosh out of our area, 71 customers, just north of course, Glynn, but then Brantley County, 75. You kind of get the idea as we sample some of these numbers here. With some of these outages, definitely something to keep our eyes on here to see if they go up right at the coast there, as that storminess did come across. So always kind of helpful to get an idea of what's going on in these type of situations. We'll go back on over to the radar. No warning anymore. They have expired that warning officially now. But roads, whether you're in Tallahassee or some other spots that have had rain, they're still going to be slick out there. as we pop up that Florida 511 camera again. We'll see that vantage point there toward Jefferson Street at Woodward Avenue. Students tomorrow, especially, will be coming back from spring break, and the conditions do look better, of course. May have some weather issues depending on where they're coming from tomorrow, may not, but it just kind of depends on where they're coming in after sunrise tomorrow. The threat here for any thunderstorm action looks to be pretty much over for our viewing areas. That's good news. Definitely good news, but just you never know, maybe a plane trip, something like that. So we'll continue to watch here. I know the Weather Service just updating or discussing here in the chat surrounding severe storms possible Wednesday and Thursday. So that'll be something to kind of monitor here as we go back on over and give you guys another viewpoint here. We're just past 8 o'clock, so we're continuing here to watch things. Again, the bigger concern will definitely be here next week with the big national threat of some severe weather potential. It's going to be a very busy week next week, folks. I mean, about as busy in terms of the national picture, at least. Not concerning our local picture. We haven't got a handle on that yet. It's still too far out, and it looks a little more murky. But as we get out toward Monday and Tuesday, folks, really need people to stay aware here. You see out toward the Lone Star State. I keep emphasizing this, but if we don't have to come back on it, I just want to make sure people are aware of this. We want to make sure you guys know what is going on here. On Monday, all modes of severe weather possible, all types of severe weather possible. Waco, Lufkin in there, but also Tyler, also College Station, that's Texas A&M site there, and then you see areas surrounding that, even a threat, Dallas, Shreveport, Houston there, Alexandria. You kind of get the idea, and then as we get toward Tuesday, this is when it may, in terms of that strong tornado threat, may even tick up a bit more. Even, again, Monday, all modes of severe weather possible, but on Tuesday, really got to be careful, because really honing in on that day where we could have big time problems in central Mississippi, folks. We're talking about Jackson, Mississippi. We're also even talking about areas around that. I mean, you see areas there. If you kind of think about the geography, we have Hattiesburg in here. Starkville's in this vicinity as well. You have a little bit of western Alabama, a little bit of Louisiana in there too. So got to really be watching here. Make sure if you're in these areas or have family and friends, especially in the orange areas, but I mean, obviously things can change between now and then where the worst threat sets up, but just go ahead and let them know if they're in the orange areas, especially that severe weather could be on their way toward Monday or Tuesday, depending on where they're at. And in a lower threat area on Wednesday, we're going to keep you advised of the situation here. This is a little more uncertain, again, a little more murky, but we'll continue to watch. Just again, make sure you're continuing to practice tornado safety tips. These are some of those that you can kind of keep your eyes on if you want to look at this again, or look at Outlook updates. You can go to cloudweather.com/severe, and we also have cloudweather.com/radar. Keeps an eye on everything as we, of course, watch our viewing area if we need to be on for severe weather potential. We break in on all the platforms. National stories, of course, it takes a higher end type of criteria, but local weather will be on here as needed, obviously, as well. There's our 62 counties. We're always on when there's a tornado warning storm in our viewing area, so that's something to bear in mind. Just want to make sure we keep you, your friends, and your family safe. But again, going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. Thanks so much for tuning in. If we need to come back on, of course we will. Otherwise, like we did for that one storm earlier before it got the second warning, that cluster, we posted about that one warning there toward some of those areas in southeastern Georgia leaving the swamp, but then as it moved closer toward Brunswick, in Camden and Glynn County, that general vicinity near 95, we decided we need to come on because we were seeing some things on radar, even some little spin trying to develop, and we did get a potential funnel cloud report in. So always important to watch and always important to keep an eye on things. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully we won't have to come back on. If we will, of course we'll do so. But otherwise, have a great night.